Good afternoon, everyone. It's NeNe from NeNe from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about human tendencies. And the reason I'd like to chat with you about this is because we all have them. We all have our own tendencies. And there's a Sanskrit word that I've mentioned a few times in previous videos too, which is called Vasanas. And we all have Vasanas. And the nicest thing when we're understanding ourselves is that we can learn about our vasanas, or quite a bit about our vasanas. And if we look at this term vasanas, which again translates loosely to human tendencies, psychology would look at it as something like the subconscious tendencies. Subconscious that then becomes conscious when we actually see it materialized. And a lot of people are not aware, and we would think, oh, how would I be aware of my unconscious? And these are vasanas. And these vasanas, the nicest thing about actually coming to terms and understanding ourselves is by learning about our tendencies and then understanding what allows us to do similar actions, which then lead to similar results, which in whether Buddhism or Hinduism would talk about this leads to suffering. And I wouldn't even limit it to those two religions. I find spirituality, you'll find that all of these vasanas, even though they're all Sanskrit terms that I'll be sharing, they're all things that we are aware of and have some awareness about. And I'm hoping that this series that I'll be making for you, starting with this one today, is going to help shed some light on this and help you understand yourself, which then helps you improve yourself and helps us be good for the world around us. So, the first one that I'd like to talk to you about today is called Loka Vasana. And vasanas, again, like I said, this term is loosely translated to tendencies. Vasanas are also kind of a wishing or a desire. And this wishing and desire, I think most of us would be familiar with what kind of things we wish for regularly, what kind of things we desire regularly. And Lokavasana is this tendency of our human minds of not understanding the limits of this world of duality. It's very interesting. When I think of Loka Vasana, this is Loka Vasana. Now, you don't even have to understand this to just understand this limitations of duality is this idea. Now, one of the ways that this has been understood is by understanding the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. Now, I think we're all understanding that term here in the West. We understand this idea of keeping up with the Joneses. So, spring, summer is a perfect time. Actually, any season of the year is a perfect time where people look at what their neighbors are doing and want to keep up. And we know this, that we can see that someone has not mowed their lawn, but they look over at their neighbor who has and they want to keep up with it. Their lawn better be nice and neat too. Same thing with planting anything, same thing with growing different fruits and vegetables. So sometimes people get into this competitive space, and it's really from looking at another that a person wants to keep up or do better than that other. And this lokavasana, this understanding or not understanding, this limitations of duality, is this whole understanding that when we look at the neighbor and their home is perfect, everything that you see about it is perfect, or their life seems perfect, where we think, wow, they're going on vacation. I wish I could go on vacation. I'm going to try to get myself on a vacation because they just got back from theirs and they had such a great time. When we do this keeping up style, it is not healthy or comfortable for ourselves because we'll never catch up to anything that we look outside of us. It doesn't have to be the same neighbor. Tomorrow it'll be a different neighbor or a different friend or a different relative that we compare ourselves to. And I heard this quotation or read this quotation recently, which said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I believe that. So, this is all about understanding limitations. So, if I see that the neighbor looks like they're doing fantastic, I can understand that there was a time that they were not doing fantastic and now they're doing fantastic, or at least I perceive that they're doing fantastic. Or perhaps they haven't been on a vacation for many years and now they're going on vacation. Or perhaps they've had some other experience in their life that really requires or deserves a break and they've allowed themselves that vacation. Whichever way we do this, of understanding that Everyone goes through ups and downs, and we go through ups and downs. So we have some good times and some not so good times. And this is duality. And every single thing that we can see, someone's got a great relationship, and I want a great relationship. Now I'm jealous of that person. And now I try to find the great relationship. And it's okay if I'm finding a great relationship because it's my own strong wish. But if it's because of comparison, this is a vasana. So, this is an interesting concept for us to understand that if we can just understand ourselves, we'll understand what brings us most joy. And then we will be able to relate that joy right from ourselves out to the world around us and draw to ourselves exactly what we wish for. Otherwise, our wishes become these latent tendencies. So now it doesn't matter what I do to get to the tendencies that I want. So I want a new home. It doesn't matter what I do to get that new home. It doesn't matter what I do to make a profit if someone is very much desiring money. It doesn't matter if I steal, or perhaps a child doesn't tell a parent that they've taken some money that they noticed. And suddenly, that child grows up and they don't tell a spouse that they've taken some money out of the account. This happens, and you might be able to understand these sorts of ideas that these are latent tendencies and they start off very small and then grow. If you believe in past lives, you might understand even this idea that in a past life, the thinking is, and you may or may not believe this, but the thinking is that at the time of death, whatever we are thinking most is what we are reborn into the next day. Or next life, I should say. But I wanted to relate it to days because what we are thinking most about yesterday, if we think of that as an entire life, yesterday was an entire life from the start of the day to the end of the day, the next morning we're thinking about the exact same thing. And this subtle energy of the mind follows this body, not the body, because our body does die. And this is also understanding this duality. The soul carries on, and the soul carries on some of this energy that we carry with our soul, this soul, which if the last thought this soul was thinking was about, oh, I wish I had more money, the next life you'll get an opportunity to make a lot of money, perhaps by doing some not so straightforward things, and you'll make a lot of money. But it's this tendency, this latent tendency of at all cost, I want to make money. And it'll be the same thing for relationships. It'll be the same thing for winning in anything that you have a strong desire for, even in terms of food. If you died starving, perhaps in this life, you might come back and have bountiful food around you. And then you might find that you eat more and more and more, and it's never enough. And this is an understanding that we can have for ourselves about this Loka Vasana. And this is interesting in terms of keeping up with the neighbors, by the way. This whole idea is we want it for respect and praise. So if that is the reason that I want to be respected and praised like they are, they just got, everyone's looking at their lawn, I want my lawn to look like that. That's the tendency. This is this vasana. And this we can also see duality for, right? So today someone is praising a lawn and tomorrow someone is insulting it or criticizing it or critical about it. And this is what we do on and off again to ourselves too. So even ourselves, I did this really well. Oh, I didn't do this so well. This is duality. And for a mind that does not understand this nature of duality, this is Loka Vasana. I hope this makes sense. I hope you have a fantastic evening ahead. And I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.